I think the most interesting thing about Joe's arrival on General Hospital is not just that he is new, it is that he feels too carefully placed to be random. In my opinion, when a new guy comes into Port Charles right around the time Ethan returns with his own strange secret, I do not see that as coincidence. I see it as a possible signal that the show may be building two mysteries at once, and I personally believe Joe's identity could be revealed much sooner than people expect. This is just my interpretation, and I could be wrong, but Joe does not feel like a character who is meant to stay mysterious for a very long time. Some characters arrive and the writers stretch their secrets for months. With Joe, I feel like the show may want the audience to start asking questions immediately. Who is he? Why now? Why bring him in while Jordan's family situation still feels unfinished? And why does his appearance make me think about TJ even though TJ is still away? That is where my controversial opinion starts. I personally believe Joe could be Jordan's other son. I know that sounds like a big leap, and I might be wrong, but to me, it fits the kind of story General Hospital likes to tell. Port Charles has always been full of missing children, hidden parents, secret twins, forgotten births, and family connections nobody saw coming. The show has used that kind of reveal many times because it creates instant emotional drama. It does not just introduce a new character, it forces an established character to rethink their entire past. And Jordan is a perfect character for that kind of emotional shakeup. If Joe really is connected to Jordan, then his arrival could reopen a part of her history that she either does not fully remember, does not understand, or has tried to bury. I am not saying Jordan knowingly abandoned a child. I do not think the show has to go that route. In fact, I think the stronger story would be that Jordan herself never knew the full truth. Maybe Joe was taken from her. Maybe someone lied. Maybe there was a complicated situation in her younger years that has never been fully explored. That is why I keep coming back to one question. If Joe is Jordan's son, then who is his father? To me, that is the real mystery. It is not enough for the show to say Joe is Jordan's child. The father would matter just as much, maybe more. If Joe's father is someone already connected to Port Charles, then this story could become much bigger than a simple reunion. It could pull in old enemies, buried secrets, and maybe even explain why Joe has appeared now. I feel like Joe might not just walk into town and say, Jordan is my mother. I think there could be layers. Maybe he comes in with only part of the truth. Maybe he already knows more than he says. Maybe he has met someone who gave him information, and that person could be TJ. That part is important to me because TJ's absence still feels strange. Jordan had a serious accident, and yet TJ has not returned. The explanation is that he is overseas, and I understand that characters are often written off-screen for practical reasons. But in soap storytelling, absence can sometimes become story. In my opinion, TJ being away could create space for Joe to appear and say something shocking. Like he has already met TJ. Imagine that. Joe comes to Port Charles and tells Jordan he knows TJ. Not only does he know him, but he has spoken to him. Maybe TJ helped him. Maybe TJ discovered something while overseas. Maybe TJ is the reason Joe found his way to Jordan in the first place. I could be wrong, but that would make TJ's absence feel less empty. It would turn something that seemed like a loose end into part of the bigger mystery. And if Joe and TJ are brothers, that creates a complicated emotional situation. TJ may have spent his life believing he knew his family story. Jordan may have believed the same thing. Then Joe arrives and changes everything. That kind of reveal would not just affect Jordan. It would affect TJ, Curtis, Stella, and anyone connected to Jordan's family. It could create resentment, confusion, guilt, and maybe even jealousy. I personally believe the most powerful version of this story would be one where Joe is not angry in a simple way. I do not want him to be just another mystery son who shows up bitter and looking for revenge. I think it would be more interesting if Joe is conflicted. Maybe he wants answers, but he is scared of what those answers mean. Maybe he wants a mother, but he does not know if Jordan deserves that place in his life. Maybe he has already built his own identity, and learning the truth makes him feel like that identity is falling apart. That is the kind of emotional mess General Hospital can do well when the writing slows down and lets characters breathe. The reason I think this could happen faster than expected is because Joe's mystery does not need to be dragged forever. Sometimes a fast reveal creates more drama than a long delay. If Joe's identity is exposed early, then the real story becomes what everyone does with that truth. Jordan has to face it. TJ has to react. Joe has to decide whether he wants to belong, and the father question still hangs over everyone. In my opinion, that is where Ethan's return could matter too. I am not saying Ethan is directly connected to Joe. I might be wrong, but the timing makes me suspicious. Ethan coming back with a secret while Joe enters town with his own possible hidden background gives the show a chance to connect stories in unexpected ways. Maybe Ethan knows something. Maybe he is involved with the person who helped Joe. Or maybe the two stories are only thematically connected, both about hidden pasts returning at the worst possible time. Either way, I do not think Joe is just a random new face. Another reason this theory stands out to me is the current Cassius situation. From what has been suggested, Cassius being Liesel's son, while Liesel did not know the full truth about giving birth to both Cassius and Nathan, feels like a reminder that General Hospital is still very interested in lost child stories. The show seems comfortable revisiting the idea that a parent can have a child out there without truly knowing. So, if that kind of story is already happening with Liesel, I think it is fair to wonder whether Jordan may be next. Some fans may think that would be too much. I understand that. Having another hidden child reveal could feel repetitive, but I think the difference is, Jordan, she has not always been centered as deeply as she could be. Giving her a lost son could open a very personal story for her. It could force the show to explore her past, her choices, her pain, and the parts of her life that have never been fully explained. My personal prediction is this. Joe may first appear as someone with no obvious connection to Jordan. He may cross paths with people in town, maybe even Ethan, before the truth starts to come out. Then small clues could point toward Jordan. Maybe he knows details he should not know. Maybe he reacts strongly when her name comes up. Maybe he has something from his past that links back to her. Then, when Jordan finally meets him, I think the scene could be emotional but confusing. Not a clean reunion. More like two people staring at each other, both feeling something they cannot explain yet. I could be wrong, and this is just my interpretation, but I feel Joe's arrival has the potential to expose a missing piece of Jordan's life. If he is her son, the biggest question is not only how he was lost, it is who made sure he stayed lost. And that is why I think this mystery could become bigger than Joe himself. It could become a story about Jordan's past, TJ's future, and a family secret that Port Charles may not be ready for.